The repeating crossbow is a Chinese crossbow where the separate actions of stringing the bow, placing the bolt and shooting it can be accomplished with a simple one-handed movement while keeping the crossbow stationary. This allows a higher rate of fire than a normal crossbow. There is a magazine containing a number of bolts on top of the bow, and the mechanism is worked by moving a rectangular lever forward and backward. Design. The repeating crossbow has a very simple and rugged design. The basic construction of the weapon has remained very much unchanged since its invention, making it one of the longest-lived mechanical weapons. The bolts of one magazine are fired and reloaded by simply pushing and pulling the lever back and forth. In that one movement, a bolt would be dropped into place, the string tensioned, and then the bolt released. Another bolt would then be ready to take its place from the magazine above. This action, however, put the weapon's string under heavy wear since it had forces straining it from both above and below. The lifting of the magazine especially put severe pressure on the string. The bowstring consists of animal sinew twisted into a cord of suitable strength, are often reinforced with quills from bird feathers, preferably those from swans or ducks. The weapon used by the ancient militaries was developed into a composite recurve variety for more power. The recurved repeating crossbow is generally still weaker than the regular recurved crossbow, and was mainly used for sieges or behind shield cover. The Chinese repeating crossbow had a maximum range of 120 meters, with an effective range of 80 meters. Non-recurved versions of the repeating crossbow were often used for home defense. The weapon was extremely easy to manufacture and use, and, in the hands of a trained soldier, could easily launch 10 bolts in 15 seconds. In comparison, an arbalist could only deliver about 2 bolts a minute. The repeating crossbow, with its smaller and lighter ammunition, had neither the power nor the accuracy of an arbalist, however. Thus, it was not very useful against more heavily armored troops unless poison was smeared on bolts, in which case even a small wound might prove fatal. Since the repeating crossbow was shot from the hip, accuracy was poor, but the aim could be adjusted very swiftly since the next shot was only a second or two away. To get past these limits, often large numbers of men would use it on the battlefield, allowing for large numbers of bolts to be fired. History. Archaeological evidence of the earliest repeating crossbow from Tomb 47 at Kinjazui, Hubei province has been dated to the 4th century BC, during the spring and autumn period. However, its invention is commonly attributed to Zhu Liang, a famous military strategist of the Three Kingdoms period. Zhu Liang improved the design of the repeating crossbow, and made a version which shot 2 to 3 bolts at once and was used in massed formations. For this reason, it was named after him. Other repeating crossbows fired as many as 10 bolts before exhausting the magazine. The repeating crossbow was introduced into Korea by King Sejong, who during a trip to China saw the weapon and was impressed by its mechanism. In Korean it was called sunagung. Variations. Alterations of the design included mountable siege crossbows with larger bolts and greater power which required 2 men to operate. There was also a heavy version using 2 magazines, thus doubling the number of bolts discharged. The latter was used in extreme close-quarter combat because they had extremely short range, due to the power of the bowstring being split between the 2 projectiles. A larger version that required 2 hands to operate was sometimes mounted on top of castle walls. They proved to be effective in defending the gates and doorways of castles.